Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liz, and in today's video I have my top 30 spring DIYs for you to try in 2021. I love these mega videos because they give so much inspiration. So I hope that you have fun watching all of these DIYs. All of my original videos will be linked down in the description box if you are interested in watching those videos. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. For this first DIY, I'm going to grab these two long signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. They have signs like this up basically all year round, so whatever ones that you have will definitely work. I'm going to go ahead and remove those hangers on the back, and then I just used a flathead screwdriver to get those staples out, but they basically just popped out as I was pulling them out from the ribbon. I'm going to grab some large popsicle sticks that I got from Walmart. I'm going to cut them in half to use as extra supports for the back of my sign. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the edge of one of those signs, and then I'm going to push them together and make sure they are even on both ends. And then, like I said, for that extra support, I'm going to take those popsicle sticks and then I'm just going to start gluing my two signs together. I am also using a wood glue hot glue that you can find a link for in my description box below. This I find holds up way better than regular hot glue, so this is the kind that I always like to use. Once I've got my support on there, I'm going to flip it around and we are going to use the back side as the front side of our sign. I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm going to give my entire sign a good one coat. I wasn't too worried about covering it completely because this is going to be a rustic and distressed sign, so no need to do multiple coats for this sign. Now I'm going to grab 3 of these arrows that you can find at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use them as houses. So I'm just going to start by removing the jute hanger and the tags from these. And I'm going to go ahead and just paint the edges of all of those arrows just in that same white Waverly chalk paint, because you will be able to see the sides, and I wanted them to be covered up and not just have that natural wood. I wanted them to match with the back, so I did just take all 3 of those wood arrows and paint all the sides in white. Now for my sign, I'm going to take this big ruler and leveler that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use it to draw some faux shiplap lines on it. I just followed those same indentations that were in the sign already, and I just matched those up. I went over those pencil marks with my Waverly chalk paint in mineral just to give it a little bit more definition. And then I'm going to take a chip brush and go around all of the edges of my sign so it looks a little bit more weathered. And then whatever I have left on the brush, I'm going to drag it through the entire sign. I also went through and did little circles on them to kind of make it look like little knots here and there. I don't know if they exactly looked like that, but I thought it was cute. Once I have it all painted and the paint is dry, I'm going to take my sandpaper and just rough it up a little bit, go over those lines to soften them up. And then I'm going to take this home sign that you can also get from the Dollar Tree. I just cut off the jute hanger on there, and I have been loving the two-tone look on the word cutouts that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I've seen several people do it, and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I decided to do a two-tone with mine, and I'm going to just take my Waverly chalk paint in mineral. I love these two colors together. I think that the natural kind of wood look that the home sign already was with this mineral color, they just look so good together. It's not too much of a difference, but I love the way that it turned out. So once it's all painted, I'm just going to remove that painter's tape, and that's all you have to do for this. I think it is absolutely adorable. So I'm going to go back to my arrows. I'm going to take some scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. Both of the scrapbook paper that I'll be using in this DIY is from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to trace out my arrows with that paper. I'm going to do 2 of the same paper and then 1 that is different. Basically, 2 of them are going to have a wood texture to them, and the third one is going to have a brick texture to it. I'm going to get all 3 of those arrows cut out. I'm just going to take a glue stick and I'm going to use that to attach my scrapbook paper to my little arrows, which are just gonna look like little houses. And I thought this scrapbook paper was so pretty. I love the herringbone pattern that it has to it, and I love the faux wood. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then for the third one, it's this brick texture that I thought was so pretty as well. So you got your wood houses, you got your brick house. So I thought that these were so cute. And then I just went in with some sandpaper to all the edges of my houses to get all the excess paper off of them. Any of the paper that was hanging off all the edges, I just went back and forth, and the paper comes off really, really easy. And I also like that it gives it a little bit more of a distressed look to the paper. Next, I'm going to hot glue all my houses down to my sign. I'm just going to lay them out right in the middle. I just did the wood house and then with the brick house in the middle and then the other wood house on the other side. And I tried to just line these up as even as I possibly could. And then I'm going to take that home sign and I am just going to put that right on top of those little houses. And lastly, I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to tie it in a simple little bow, add some hot glue, and attach that to my middle house at the very top. I'm going to dovetail the ends, and that is it for this home sign. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I love how neutral it is, and I'm so excited to add this to my home decor.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this.
I am going to take these wood planks that I got from Hobby Lobby in a pack. I believe they're probably about 1x4s, I want to say, and I have 4 of them. Now with one of them, I drilled 3 large holes in the middle-ish. They weren't perfect, but they worked for this project. I am going to stain all of them using my Craft Smart stain in brown. And once I get those all stained and that's dry, I'm going to take some hot glue. This is actually hot glue wood glue that I get off of Amazon. So this is perfect for this kind of project. And I'm just going to make a box out of this. I'm going to put 1 plank on the bottom, and then I'm going to take 2 of those planks and butt them up to the sides of that bottom plank. And then I'm going to take my top plank with the 3 holes and I'm going to hot glue that technically to the top, but I just flipped it over for the purpose of gluing it together. So it's going to make a square. Now I'm going to take some florals and some greenery and I'm going to attach them all together using some twine. I did 3 bunches of flowers and greenery for the 3 holes in my wood piece, and I just go all the way down the stem with the twine and then all the way back up and tie a double knot. I cut off the excess, and then after that was done, I just inserted them right into the holes on the top of my box, cut off any extra of the stems that needed to be cut off, and that's it for this project. I think it's so simple but so farmhouse and springy and pretty, so I just love it.
I wanna do what you want to. We can leave and run away someday, someday. I've been saving you, and you save me too. Yeah.
If you guys are new here, hey, my name's Liz and I love everything DIY and crafting. If that's something that you enjoy, consider subscribing to my channel and becoming part of my little crafting family. You can also find me over on Instagram and Facebook, where you can stay up to date with all of my craft kits that I sell over on my website. I'm going to take this shadow box sign that I got from Dollar Tree during the fall season. Obviously, it's just one that I had left over, but you can find signs like this at Dollar Tree Tree all the time. I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum chalk paint in white, and I am going to paint the inside and all the sides of this sign. I did about 2 coats on this. You really aren't going to see the inside of it too much, so I wasn't too worried about getting that perfect. Then I'm going to take this flower that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now, I broke off the whole stem of it and realized after I purchased this that you can actually purchase these without the yardstick on it at all. So just pick up the flower if you can find that. So I'm going to give this 1 coat of my white chalk paint. I just wanted to do this kind of acting as a primer, so I didn't have to do too many coats of my other color. And I made sure to carefully lift up each of those petals so that I could really get underneath all of them. Now I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in Agave, and that is what I'm going to use for this flower. I absolutely love this color. It's such a perfect mix between blue and green. So I'm just gonna go through and give this 1 coat of this color. I feel like because I did the white underneath, it helped. So I didn't have to do more than 1 coat of this paint. Now I wanted to give this flower some more dimension, so I'm going to take my Folk Art chalk paint in Sage, and I'm going to dry brush around the flower petals, around the outside, and just kind of dragging that paint in, trying to hit all the little bumps and grooves of those petals. I just wanted a different pop of color in there just to give it, like I said, some more dimension so it didn't look so flat. I'm going to do that to all of the petals, and then after I've done that, I'm also going to take my white chalk paint and go over it with my white as well, just to give it a little bit more extra something, make it stand out a little bit more. And I feel like it's a lot more pleasing to the eye when you have something that has multiple colors in it, if that makes sense at all. So I'm going to take some tumbling tower blocks because I want to use this to be able to glue down my flower to it. I didn't want a whole bunch of glue around the outside of the flower and the frame, so I'm going to hot glue those down, and then I'm going to hot glue my flower down to the tumbling tower blocks, and that's it for this project.
Give me all your love, oh, 'cause I want you. No one else makes me feel this way.
You're going to take 2 of these little wood pallets that you can get from the Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square section. I just went in with some sandpaper in the beginning because they do have pretty rough edges with little pieces of wood sticking out here and there, so I tried to get it as smooth as I possibly could. And then I'm just going to hot glue those 2 pallets together. I'm going to use a popsicle stick and cut it down to size just to reinforce it so it's a little bit more sturdy. And then I'm going to take my white Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to paint the entire thing. And I did just do 1 coat on it. I wasn't too worried about it, again, having full coverage because it is going to be a rustic piece. So I just did 1 good coat. Once that is all dry, to distress it, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in Mineral, and with a chip brush, I'm going to go over all of those sides, just doing a dry brushing technique, starting from the side and dragging it to the middle, and then I do go in between each of those slats as well to define those a little bit more and give it more dimension and distressing. So next I'm going to take some florals. You can use whatever florals you want. These are from a mixture of Hobby Lobby and Michaels. And I just started cutting off little pieces here and there and playing around with the arrangement. Once I got the arrangement that I liked, I'm going to take a piece of floral wire. I'm going to twist that wire around all of the stems. I wanted this to look like a little bouquet. So once I've got those all attached, I'm going to take some twine. I'm going to tie a double knot at the top to secure it all in place, and then I'm going to take that twine and I'm going to start twisting it around all of the stems. I go all the way to the bottom and then I do a second layer all the way to the top, and then once I get back to the top, I'm going to tie it in a double knot again, and then I am going to tie a little bow. Now, I knew just trying to hot glue this down to the sign, it wasn't going to work very well. So what I decided to do was take a piece of a popsicle stick and I hot glued it to where about the bow was on the stems of the bouquet. And I took an extra piece of twine and I just wrapped it around the front of the bouquet and then down through the slats of the palette. And then I tied the twine around that popsicle stick so that it would hold the bouquet in place.
Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever.
You're going to grab one of these small wreaths that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I believe they come in a pack of 2. And I am going to grab this ticking fabric that I got from burlapfabric.com. You can use whatever kind of fabric that you want. Now, I will say this is definitely a movie kind of DIY where you want to sit down, turn a good movie on, put a good audiobook on, something that you can have to entertain yourself while you're doing this, because this took me at least an hour, I want to say. All I did was cut out strips. I really didn't do any kind of measuring. I just took one strip that I felt like was a good size and based it off of that. I cut out a ton of strips and started just doing a simple tie to each individual ring. And I did tie them on all 3 sections that you can see there, the 3 different rings. And then after I was done tying them, I did go back through and trim some of them up. I wanted to make sure that they were all one length and try to make it look as even as I possibly could. I think this is so much fun. I love the texture of it and I love the fabric. I love this ticking fabric. It is absolutely my favorite. I have a pillow made out of it that I did in a separate DIYs. So this is definitely one that I'm absolutely loving. Now, after I've done that, I'm going to take this canvas that I got from Ross at least 4 years ago, and I'm going to cut off the canvas from the frame. I don't use this anymore. It's been sitting in my closet for a long time, and it was just going to go in the trash, and I thought, why not just reuse it? So I'm going to remove that canvas and get all of the excess canvas removed from the back of the frame. But you can use whatever kind of frame that you want. It doesn't have to be a canvas frame. You could go to Hobby Lobby and just pick out one of their frames from there that you can get for pretty cheap, or even at a thrift store. And I'm just going to start by taking my Craftsmart stain in the color brown, and I'm just using this just like a stain, painting it on and then wiping it off with a paper towel. And I just painted the entire frame in this color. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in white and a chip brush, and I am going to heavily distress this frame. I wanted this to look like it used to be painted white and some of that old brown color was coming through, so I just wanted a very heavily distressed and rustic looking frame for this project. And I'm going to do that on the entire frame, so the inside, the sides. Now I'm going to take some burlap ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to loop it through the wreath and then fold it over the top of the frame. I'm also going to take this ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I thought this was so cute. I love that soft pink color that it has to it, and it's the shape of a vine with leaves. I just think it's absolutely adorable, and I think it leaves a really pretty pop of that pink for spring. That's something that I'm absolutely loving for the springtime, just that really soft pink color. And then I just take my staple gun, staple it back to the frame, and that is it for this DIY.
Talk a little deeper, kiss a little harder. I wanna love out loud. Talk a little deeper, kiss a little harder, love a little louder. talked about everything.
I grabbed several different kind of jars and bottles. This one particularly I got for $1.49, which I thought was a really great deal. I'm going to remove that sticker, clean off the bottle with a baby wipe, and then I'm going to grab this chalk paint from Folk Art in Sage. I think this is such a beautiful color, and I wanted to try my hand at making a textured paint. So I'm going to add some baking soda to my paint. I did about even parts, I would say, and I made it into about a paste is what the consistency I would describe it as. And I have seen other people do this technique and it makes their bottles look so pretty. So I knew I had to try it. I wanted that kind of concrete ceramic kind of look to these pieces, so I just went through and painted the entire bottle in this mixture, and I did have to do about 2 coats on each piece that I'm going to be painting. Now I like my decor to kind of all match and go together, so you're going to see this color and correlating colors throughout this video because that's just what I like to do. Anytime I'm doing DIYs, I want everything to be cohesive and to match. And then I'm going to take this same color, and with this really cute little picture, I am going to paint this one. It was $2.49 and I purchased all of these from Goodwill, and I think these are so cute. I'm pretty sure these are like, you know, for tea or coffee. I'm not a tea or coffee drinker, so I am no expert on what these are used for. Cream milk is what my guess would be, but I am just going to give this 2 coats of paint as well. And then I picked up another one of these for $1.49, and I just did a little concoction of a couple different paint colors and just mixed them together until I got the color that I wanted, and then added some more baking soda, and then I'm just going to paint this. Now I wanted a couple taller bottles, which I don't know why I didn't look for these while I was at for Goodwill, but I had a couple bottles at home, one that had just been sitting around for a long time, and then a couple glass pieces from the Dollar Tree that I already had on hand. So I'm going to paint those as well. So I just did this color, I did another cream color, and painted them all the same. If they were big and open like this, I did make sure to paint the inside a little bit so that you couldn't really tell that, you know, it wasn't the same color on the inside. And that's all I did for these. I think these turned out so cool. Another thing that you can do, which I did for my last piece, was kind of play around with the texture a little bit with my paintbrush. Instead of brushing it on, I did kind of a dabbing motion. There's so many different things that you could do, and I think these all turned out really awesome. So I'm definitely going to be trying this technique a lot more in the future on other things because I think that they are so fun and they are so pretty to display in your home. I'm obsessed. I love it, and I can see myself using this in a lot more DIYs.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind.
I'm going going to take one of these signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. Now, I decided that I wanted to flip this over onto its back instead of trying to scrape all that glitter off, and I wanted this little wood piece at the top still, so I just took that off with a flathead screwdriver, and then I'm going to pop out all the staples. I'm going to use my heat gun to get the sticker off the back, and then I'm going to go in with my Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint this entire sign in this color. Now, I kind of debated on keeping it a little more rustic and not painting it all the way, but in the end I decided to just give it one full good coat of this paint. And then after I've got that painted, I'm going to go in with my Waverly chalk paint in mineral. Now, I didn't use a chip brush like I normally use to distress, and I wish that I had, because it just isn't the same. I feel like when you're distressing with a regular paintbrush versus a chip paintbrush, it just gives a different look, and I don't enjoy it as much as when I'm using a chip brush. So to kind of fix the parts that I didn't like, I just went back in with my white chalk paint just to kind of go over it a little bit and make some of the lines that were a little bit too harsh to fade a little bit, just to get it the way that I liked it. Now, I am going to take this, it's actually a paintbrush holder that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, but I needed a circle, so I'm going to trace out the circle on the middle of my sign. I mostly needed this just to give myself a bit of a template. And then I'm going to take this scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to trace out the circle on the bottom, and then I'm going to cut that circle out. I don't do it perfectly, and I make sure to leave a little bit of space from the line that I drew. And then I'm going to take my glue stick and put some glue on the sign itself, and then I'm going to glue my scrapbook paper down to my sign. Now, I'm going to take my Sola wood flowers. You guys know how much I love these, and I just went through the assortments that I had and picked out some colors that I liked, and I felt like this green, orange, and pink just looked so pretty together and looked so spring. I took forever to figure out how I wanted to put all of these flowers down, where I wanted them to go, but I just started hot gluing them down once I figured out the placements of everything and got it the way that I liked it. Now, when I was hot gluing these down, I guess I was smushing them together more than when I was just playing around with the assembly of them and how I was going to put it down. So I ended up with a little bit of a gap at the top. I'm going to use a ribbon anyways and make a bow to kind of cover that gap up at the top anyways, so it wasn't too big of a deal. Now I'm going to take these transfer letters that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut out the letters to spell Hello Spring. You could use other stickers if you have them. You could even cut yourself out a decal if you have a cricut or a silhouette. Really, whatever your heart desires, whatever you have on hand, just use that. I tried my best to get them as straight and centered as I possibly could. If you've done these before, it's not the easiest to get them straight. I need to figure out a hack or a way that I can get them all perfectly straight and aligned. I'll have to figure that out one day. But I am going to take this ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to tie a simple shoelace bow with it. It's really easy. I just mess with the loops until I get it the size that I want it, and then I'm gonna hot glue that down to the middle between those two flowers where you see that little gap at the top. And then I wanted the tails on this ribbon to be long, so I am going to hot glue the ends of them to the flowers where they're touching. So it kind of gives a frame for the flowers, in my opinion. I think it looks really cute, but you could add a hanger for the back if you wanted, so that you can hang it on the wall. I just left mine as is, and this is the way that it turned out.
Give me love, give me all your love, oh, 'cause I want you. No one else makes me feel this way, don't know what you do. Hold my hand, could you hold my hand, look me in the eyes.
this next DIY, you're going to grab one of these wood houses that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I am going to separate the back from the frame. I'm going to take some of this scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to trace out the back of that house and cut out that scrapbook paper. I'm just going to use a glue stick to attach this paper to that house, and then I'm going to use some super glue to attach the frame back down to the sign. You could also use some hot glue, but I prefer this just because it's going to give it that nice flat, even level. I feel like a lot of times hot glue doesn't flatten all the way, so with things like this I prefer to use a super glue type glue. And then I'm gonna take one of these metal windmills that I actually got from Hobby Lobby for Christmas on clearance, and it's an ornament, so I thought these were really cute, and I'm gonna take that and just hot glue it down to the middle of my house. I'm just going to use some hot glue to reinforce it on the bottom, and then I'm gonna take this lavender that I picked up from Walmart, and I'm just gonna cut it down into little pieces, and I'm just gonna start hot gluing them down where I feel like it looks good. I kind of messed around with the placement of them a little bit, so I decided to put some around the base of that windmill where the bottom of the windmill meets the frame, and then I added some in the corners of the frame, and I just thought that this turned out so cute. I absolutely love the lavender florals from Walmart, and I love windmills, so this is one of my favorites.
Don't know what you do. Hold my hand, could you hold my hand? Look me in the eyes. You and me, yeah, that's all I need, and I'll be alright. I'll be right.
I'm going to take one of these signs that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I am going to paint the outside edges and then the back with my Waverly chalk paint in plaster, and I'm going to go through the inside of the sign. You're not going to see it too much, but I wanted it to be painted just in case you could see a lot of it. And then I'm going to take some more of these Sola flowers. I'll have these linked down in the description box below if you're interested. I think they are so much fun to work with, and I just took a variety of what I had. I kind of just picked out the colors that I wanted and the sizes, and I just started hot gluing them down into my sign. I wanted this to look like a shadow box filled with florals, so I just went through and hot glued them all down, kind of played with the arrangement a little bit, got it to where I liked it. And then I'm going to take this ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to cut a piece so that I can wrap it around the back, and I just hot glued both of my ends to the back piece right here. And then I'm going to take some more of this rope that I got from Hobby Lobby, tie another simple bow, cut off the ends, and hot glue it down to the middle, and that's it for this DIY.
Your life-changing sensation. I hope I'll be something that you won't let go. I'll be your high when you fall down low. I hope I'll be your end destination. You're far away and yet so close.
I grabbed this air dry clay off of Amazon. I'll have it linked down in the description box below, but this was the very first time that I'd ever worked with clay, and I really wanted to try it out, kind of create my own vases or other kind of home decor pieces. And plus, I think that it was so much fun to work with clay, get your hands dirty a little bit, create something unique. So this was actually really fun. So I just rolled out some of that clay with a large wood dowel because apparently I don't have a rolling pin. So I just rolled it flat. I took one of these glass jars that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I just wrapped that around my little jar and then just cut off the excess pieces of the clay. And I got these little tools that I'm using from the Dollar Tree as well. And then I have a little container of water that I'm using to smooth out that clay, to attach some pieces pieces together where I had open spaces that needed to be covered by that clay. So I just use water, and apparently you're supposed to use lots of water anyways. I didn't know that. Like I said, this was the very first time that I've ever used clay, and so it's a learning process. I am still figuring it out. So with this being the very first piece that I've made using clay, I am really happy with it, but I can't wait to try more things with it. So to add a little bit of design to my vase, I'm taking a fork and I'm just pressing it down into the clay. Pretty simple and easy as that. I go vertical one way, and in the middle I go horizontal, and then I do vertical again, and that's all I do. And I just smooth out the rim of the vase, and then I took it outside and gave it a coat of this really pretty spray paint that I have been obsessed with. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll leave it in the description box below so that you guys can find it. I just picked it up from Walmart. And now I wanted to create some lids. I have been seeing so many pottery pieces with these lids on top of them, so I wanted to recreate one for my own. So I picked up these circles that you can get from Walmart. They come in a pack of 6, and I didn't have anything that was the right thickness, so I grabbed 3 and I glued them together. I added some weight to it just with this paint can to make sure that all 3 layers went flat and stuck together. And then I grabbed these wood pieces from Hobby Lobby to use as a little knob on the top. I just filled the hole in the top with some spackle from the Dollar Tree. And then once my 3 pieces were all dry and glued together, I took some more spackle and went around the circle so that it didn't look like it was 3 pieces all glued together. It just looked like one seamless piece. So I am going to put that spackle in all the seams around the edges. And then once that's dry, I'm going to take some of this apple barrel paint. I mixed it with some water so that it was kind of more like a stain rather than a super opaque paint. And I am just going to paint both of these circles and both of these knobs because I will put this on another jar that I'm making in this video. So I wanted to create 2 lids. So I just paint the entire thing, and then once everything is nice and painted and dry, I'm just going to take some wood glue. I apply it to the inner portion of those little knobs, and I glue it down to the middle of the lid, and that's all you have to do for this project. I think these turned out so cute, and for faux lids, I think they look really adorable. They're not super functional, but if you're just using it as decor pieces, I think they turned out so cute.
Give me love, give me all your love, oh, 'cause I want you. No one else makes me feel this way, don't know what you do. Hold my hand, could you hold my hand, look me in the
I'm gonna grab a stretched canvas. I pick up a 10-pack of these from Michael's. You can also find these at the Dollar Tree just for $1. And I'm going to remove that canvas using my craft knife. And then the front of these ones from Michael's occasionally have staples in the front. I was able to get a couple of them out, but some of the staples were really far in there. So I just decided to take some spackle that you can get from the Dollar Tree and fill those holes in the front so it all looks seamless, and it's gonna hide those staples. Now I'm going to take 3 planks that I got in a pack, I believe from Hobby Lobby, but you can actually pick these up from Dollar Tree. They're just a little bit thinner than the ones that I'm using here. And I'm going to paint all 3 of them in my Waverly chalk paint in white. And then to distress it, I'm going to use a chip brush and my Waverly wax and antique. And I'm just going to distress all 3 of these planks. I wanted it to look kind of like a faux wood and really rustic. Once I am done with those, I'm going to move back on over to my frame, and I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in truffle, and I'm going to paint the entire thing in this color. And then I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in hazelnut or hazel. I believe it's called hazelnut. I could be totally wrong, but I'm going to use that to distress my frame as well. So I'm just going to use that same chip brush and the same method. I'm just going to dry brush over the entire thing. Now I'm going to use my hot glue gun, and I am going to hot glue the planks to the back of my frame, and I'm going to space these out so that there will be a gap in between each plank. Now I'm going to take this wreath that I believe I got from Joann's a really long time ago, and I'm just going to dry brush it with a little bit of white paint. I just wanted a little bit of two-tone going on with the wreath, and I'm gonna hot glue that down to the middle of my sign. And then I'm gonna take some Sola wood flowers. I absolutely love these, and these colors are so gorgeous. I'm loving this minty green and the light baby pink, and I'm just gonna take these and hot glue them to the bottom of my wreath, just kind of in an arrangement that I thought looked nice. I played with it for quite a while to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. Once I get all those hot glued down, I'm going to take some ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to tie that into a really simple bow. I'm going to hot glue that down to the middle of the bottom of my wreath. And then I'm going to take this rope that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to do the same thing, tie it into a really simple bow, hot glue it on top of my green ribbon, cut off the ends, and that is it for this DIY.
You come home to me once you've traveled the world, all the spaces inside your heart. I hope I'll be your destination.
This DIY, I am going to use these wood slices that I got off Amazon. I'll have them linked in the description box below, but I'm going to grab some of my Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I am just going to paint each of those wood slices this color. I made sure to go around those edges because I didn't want to cover up those wood barky areas, if that makes sense. So once I get all 6 of those painted, I'm going to take these rub-on transfers that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I just cut up the entire page of these rub-on transfers into the individual little greeneries, and I'm just placing them all onto these wood slices. There really wasn't a rhyme or a reason. I just kind of placed it randomly on all of them, and I just rubbed them right on and then took that clear sheet off. Now I'm going to take these stickers that I got from Hobby Lobby. These are more of a chipboard kind of sticker, so they are a lot thicker than your just normal paper kind of sticker. And I am going to place them onto my wood slices to spell out the word spring. I thought this was so cute, and I loved the buffalo check of these stickers, so I thought this was absolutely adorable. And just as an FYI, these don't stick super well to the paint, so with some of them I did have to go back in with some super glue just to make sure that those letters all stayed on there. And then I also ended up drilling a second hole in these wood slices, hole drilled in it already, but with the way I wanted to hang these, I wanted there to be 2 holes so that my wood slices would face forward. Now I'm just gonna grab some wood beads that I also got from Amazon and some twine, and I'm just going to start making myself a cute little garland out of this. I'm gonna do a bead and then a wood slice, a bead and then a wood slice. You can see what I'm doing here. It's pretty easy and pretty self-explanatory. Once I have all of those stringed onto my twine, I'm gonna tie a couple knots on both ends to keep everything in place, and then I will hang it on my little fence that I made a long time ago before I even started filming videos. I followed a tutorial from Jennifer from A Little Bit of Calm and Crazy. I'll link her video in the description box below because I always get so many questions about my fence. It is such a fun DIY, so I'll link it down for you so you can check that video out.
was at the wrong place at the right time. 'Cause suddenly there you were with those bright blue eyes. We were conversing under the night sky when you took my hand, said let's leave now. Don't wanna be shy, I will let my guard down. Don't wanna be shy, I will let my guard down. I wanna love out loud.
I picked up this sign from Goodwill. It was $3.49 and I just popped the little house portion off from the front off. I wanted to make that different, do something a little different with it, so I just popped that off, and then I'm gonna go in with my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I gave the sign 2 good coats of white paint, making sure to get all the sides and the edges so everything was nice and covered in white. And then once that is all dry, I'm going to take my Waverly antique wax, and I just took a flat paintbrush and I went down in those grooves on the sign just to really emphasize those lines, make it look a little distressed in there. And then I also took that wax and went around all of the edges just to make it look a little bit more messy, add some definition and some detail to it. Now I'm going to take some scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby in this pack. I thought this pack was so cute with all the flowers. And I'm going to take this yellow pattern. I think this is absolutely adorable. And I'm just going to trace the house out on top of it. I'm going to take my scissors, cut that house out, and then with a glue stick, I'm just going to glue the paper down to the house. Now, I grabbed this little family wood cutout from Hobby Lobby. It was $1.49 and I believe I got it on sale. And I'm going to take my Waverly wax and antique, and I just gave this entire thing a good coat using it as a stain. And then I'm going to take my white chalk paint again, and I just went around the edges like this. I wanted to have it pop out a little bit more so the words weren't just completely blended in. I like the little detail that it gave each of the words. So I just did that, and then I'm going to hot glue the house back onto the sign, and then I'm going to hot glue the words to the front of the house. And that's it for this DIY. I think that this is my favorite because I love those floral colors, and it just speaks to me. I'm loving it.
Keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know,
I'm going to grab one of these wired baskets and some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. That's where both of these are from. And I'm going to start by hot gluing this nautical rope all around the bottom portion of my basket. I just used a full thing of this nautical rope. I just went all the way around. It went probably about a third of the way up my basket. Now, my idea for this was to add a canvas bag on the inside, but when I took this canvas bag that I had from burlapfabric.com, it was way too small. For some reason, I thought that it was going to be big enough to fit inside there and kind of pull it over the edges, but it wasn't. So I just kind of winged this whole portion. I took 2 of those canvas bags. And I mean, and honestly, I could have just ran out to the store and bought some canvas fabric, but I wanted to use what I had. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to spend any more money. So I just improvised and used what I had on hand. So I am going to cut both of those bags down the seams, and then I'm going to start attaching them just with my glue gun. I just made a big bag, basically. It is really as simple as that. And then I wanted the top portion to have a finished edge, so I just folded it in and then hot glued it down. Now I'm going to put that inside my basket, and in doing this I made way too big of a bag. So again, I just had to kind of improvise. So I just started hot gluing the bag down to where it meets the nautical rope, and I'm just pulling that bag tight so that it goes all around the basket itself. And then where there was a little bit too much fabric, I just kind of overlapped it, kind of folded it in a little bit, and then hot glued it down. So it wasn't really too big of a deal. And then I'm going to grab this ribbon that you can get from Walmart, and I'm just going to put this right in between where that nautical rope and the canvas meet, so it's kind of covering up that seam, and I just hot glued that all around my basket. Now to fill the basket, I'm going to take some lamb's ear that I got from Walmart. I put in 4 picks in total, and then I picked up these peaches that you can get from Walmart. I thought these were so cute, and I just love this color for spring, the peachy kind of color, and I just threw all those on top, and that's it for this DIY. I thought it turned out so cute, and I love the peach basket.
Hold me closer, I wanna stay here with you. All that we have is each other now. I promise I won't leave your side.
I am going to take an 8x10 canvas frame. I'm going to just cut with my utility knife, cut that canvas off of the frame, and then I will go through and remove all the staples because I want the back to be completely flat. And then there were some staples in the front of the frame that I removed as well. And I originally wanted to keep the natural wood look of this, but with those staples there and the holes that it left behind, that just wasn't going to work. So what I did was remove all those staples, and then I took some spackle from the Dollar Tree and I just used that to fill in those holes on the front of the frame. And then I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and plaster. I'm going to grab some of these wood planks from the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to dry brush all over the frame and 3 of those wood planks. Like I said, I wanted this to look as natural as possible, but with those holes in the front and the spackle, I had to paint over it. So I just went through and dry brushed all over them. After those are all dry, I'm going to take some hot glue and I am going to glue the 3 planks to the back of my frame. And I did want to have a little gap in between each plank, so I just kind of eyeballed it and just hot glued my top and bottom piece, and then hot glued my middle piece last. After I've done this, I'm going to take some of these, I believe they're called blooming flowers. I got them from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take 3 of them and hot glue them down to my sign. And then once those are on, I'm going to take these Sola wood flowers. I am so excited to use these again in a project because they are absolutely gorgeous. Sola wood flowers was kind enough to send me a couple of bags of these. So here is a mix of some that they sent me and a lot of what I've purchased because I'm obsessed. I'm literally obsessed with these. I have so many ideas for them, and I cannot wait to use them. So thank you so much again to SOLAWOODFLOWERS for sending me some flowers. I'll have their link down in the description box if you would like to check them out. So I'm just gonna take a mix of several of the different bags that I had. I just kind of toyed around with it, played around with the arrangement and how I wanted them to look in there, what colors, what kind of flowers. And once I got the look that I wanted, I just started hot gluing them right down to the corner of my sign. And once I've got all of those glued down, that is it for this project. I love this. This one is by far my favorite. I am absolutely loving the pop of peach in there and the neutral tones. It just screams spring to me and it makes me happy.
me what it's like to be circling among the clouds. Because without you by my side, I would be stuck here on the ground. You're lighting up the way, I can see the road ahead of me. I won't be stumbling in the dark. Your eyes are shining like the stars. I was down until you saved me, until you set me free. My eyes were closed, now I see clear as day.
I'm going to grab one of these grapevine wreaths from the Dollar Tree, one of these trash bins from the Dollar Tree. You want to make sure that you get the wired one like this. I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to cut around until I can get a piece of this about as big as the backing of that grapevine wreath. I want to use this right behind my grapevine wreath, so I just cut out a piece of it and then I'm going to trace out the circle to get precisely the amount of this wire backing that I need, and then I will cut that out. Once I have it all cut out, I was going to use some hot glue to attach it, but that just wasn't working too well, so I just grabbed some twine and I am just going to loop it around the grapevine wreath and then through the wire backing through the holes, and that held it together perfectly. And then I'm going to grab some of these wood planks that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I grabbed 2 just because it wasn't as long as I needed it to be. I marked off where I needed to cut it, and then I just took my crafting knife and scored it a couple times on the front and the back until I could kind of wiggle it back and forth, and then it just snapped in 2, and that worked perfectly for me. Now to attach these together, I'm just going to take a couple popsicle sticks, use some hot glue, and attach them on the back. And then I'm going to go in with some white chalk paint from Rust-Oleum, and I am just going to give this one good coat of paint. After I have that all dry, I'm going to take my mineral color chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to use this ruler leveler to create some lines on that plank. I just used the ruler as a width guide between each line. And then once I've got all the lines drawn on there, I'm just going to slightly distress it, just using that same mineral color chalk paint with my brush, just doing a little bit of dry brushing. And then I will kind of go over that again with my white chalk paint. Now I cut this welcome decal out using my Cricut, and I am going to put this on my sign. Now you can use stickers or whatever you have on hand. I have my Cricut and my vinyl, and I feel like I have not used it in forever, so I wanted to break that out. I'm going to hot glue my welcome plaque down to my wreath. And then I'm going to take some lamb's ear that I got from Walmart. I'm going to slide those between the twine that's on there, and then I also use some wire to attach it to the wreath. And then I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use it to make a bow. So I just took one piece, folded it into a loop, and then I took another piece for the tails. I'm going to take my loop piece, put it on top of my tails that I have folded in half, take some twine and tie a knot on the back, and then I used the twine to wrap around the middle of the bow a couple times. And I just tied another knot in the back to secure it all in place. And then to attach my bow to the wreath, I didn't want to hot glue it, so I just used that remaining twine, looped it through the wire and around the wreath, and then tied a double knot to keep that in place, dovetailed the ends of my bow, and that's it for this DIY.
You had me at a low, 'cause where you go is where I go. I don't need nobody else. I got you, and you got me too.
For this next one, I'm going to grab some paint stir sticks. I picked up a 10-pack from Lowe's. I'm going to take 4 of those paint sticks, and then I'm going to take these wooden planks that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to measure out the length of the plank to the paint stir stick, and then I will cut those paint stir sticks down to that size. And then I also cut one of the planks to use as the sides. I'm going to make a little basket out of these. So first I'm going to start by painting all of my pieces in my white Waverly chalk paint. So once those are all nice and painted and everything is dry, I'm going to take this chicken wire ribbon or chicken wire in a roll. I picked it up from Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to cut a piece out that matches the length of those paint stir sticks. And I just used some hot glue to attach them. I was going to use some staples, but my staples would have gone all the way through to the front, and I didn't want that to happen. So for now, I just added a ton of hot glue, and it seems to be holding up okay. And I am just going to hot glue that chicken wire down to 2 of my paint stir sticks, and I'm going to slide that right in and attach it to the side piece and the bottom piece of my basket. And then I'll just go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side. I attached it to the side piece and the bottom piece. And then I'm going to take my last side piece and I'm going to hot glue it to both of my chicken wire sides and to the bottom of my plank. Once that is all together, I'm going to take some of these rub-on transfers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. I just cut out these little flowers. I'm going to add it to a corner of my basket just to give it a little extra something. And then I just threw in some lamb's ear from Walmart, some of my Sola flowers, and that's it. Just decorate it the way you want it, and you have a super cute chicken wire basket.
Be who you are and you'll be enough. If you're giving me your love, giving me your love, all that we have is each other now. Promise you won't leave my side. I hope who I am is enough for you. If I'm giving you my love, giving you my love, love.
You are gonna need some rings of some sort. So I picked up a couple wired wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. Now the easiest way to do this is just to pick up those 3D wreath forms so that you don't have to cut apart the wired wreath form, because let me tell you, my hand was killing me after I cut all of these circles out of it. So if you can just pick up the 3D wreath form where all the wires are detached from each other, do that instead of what I did. It took me forever. I'm gonna take 3 circles from the wired wreath form, and I'm gonna go from biggest to smallest. Now I am going to take my biggest wreath form circle, and I'm gonna take the largest wooden beads that I have. I get all my wooden beads off of Amazon, and I'm gonna string those onto the largest hoop, going about halfway. And then I'm going to take one bead and fill it with hot glue just to secure those 2 ends of the hoop together. And then I'll just move the rest of my wood beads to that side so that they are all on the side with that wood bead that's glued down, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with my other 2 hoops. And I just did a smaller size of beads for the middle, and then an even smaller size of beads for my last hoop. Now to secure all of these together, I'm going to use some twine, and I just tied it in a knot, and then I wrapped my twine around all 3 pieces several times, as you can see, and then I'll just tie that off, securing them all together. And then I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Walmart, and I'm going to make a bow. I just did 1 loop, hot gluing it together, and then I cut the tails. I used a piece of twine to tie the loop and the tails together, and then I'm going to cut off an excess piece of that ribbon for the middle of my bow. I just folded the 2 sides in, and then I wrapped it around the middle of my bow and hot glued it in place. And then I'm going to take that excess twine from the back of my bow, and I'm going to tie that onto the top portion of my wreath, I guess we're going to call it. And then I'm going to hot glue the tails in place because I did want them spread out and to cover the rest of those wires. So I'm just going to hot glue them to the top of the beads on each side. I'm going to dovetail the ends, and that's it for this DIY.
You're gone now, will you coming back? Yeah, I know that, yeah, I know that. You're the traveling kind, it's a known fact. Yeah, I know that. Once you've seen all the things, all the places, I hope it means.
For this DIY, I grabbed these 2 long candlesticks from Hobby Lobby. I know that you can get them from the Dollar Tree. I was just too lazy to go there, and I had already been to Hobby Lobby and picked up these ones. I decided to cut mine down, so I just started by breaking them, and then I used my little knife to cut the wick inside. And then I also took my lighter to the end of that candle where it was broken, just to kind of melt that wax down so it wasn't chipping away and flaking away where I had broken it. Now I am going to attempt to make these look like birchwood. I saw Shannon from the Daily DIYer do this to one of her candles, and it turned out absolutely adorable. And I had that vision of a wood bundle in my mind, and I had to make it. I'll link her video down below where she made hers, and she just inspired me. So this is what I'm doing. I'm taking a fork and I am just dragging that along the candle. I wanted to make as much grooves and, imperfection into these candles as I could. I took my utility knife and I started digging holes into them to make them look like knots. I just kind of twist it around in a circle. I also use the knife to carve indents into it, make it so that it's not so perfectly round. You're basically just going to carve into it as much as you think like all the little imperfections that birchwood would have. Now I'm going to take my folk art paint in bark brown, and I'm going to paint all 3 of my candles in this color. This isn't going to give a full coverage kind of coat. It's going to be pretty light, so I just go over it as best as I can and then wait for that to dry. Once that is all dry, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm going to heavily distress these. I want it to be mostly white with just a little bit of that brown peeking through. I think this is awesome because it does give a lot of that dimension. You get that white with those brown streaks through it, so I think that it looks really, really cool. So I'm just going to paint all 3 of my little logs in that color. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in ink, and I'm going to use that to go over all the little holes that I made for the knots in the wood. In birchwood, there's always those little black lines and black indents all over the wood, so that's what I was trying to go for. I would paint it, and then I would take a paper towel and kind of smudge it around so it wasn't so harsh. and I just made sure to put that in all the little holes that I made and all the little indents just to give it some more added detail and dimension, trying to make it look like birchwood. I think in the end it turned out really well. I don't feel like you would even know that these were made from candles, and I think this is such a fun way to transform something. I have been loving birchwood lately. I don't know what it is, but I loved it for Christmas, loved it for my winter decor, and now I'm loving it for spring. So let me know if you're obsessed with birchwood as much as I am. So I'm just gonna take some twine. I'm gonna wrap it around all 3 of those candles, and I am just going to wrap it around a bunch of times, tie it in a double knot, and that is it for my bundle of birchwood.
Talk a little deeper, kiss a little harder. I wanna love out loud. Talk a little deeper.
This next one, I am going to take this wood round that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I am going to take some of this adhesive cork sheet that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start by measuring out how much I need. I just tried to use as much of this as I could because the entire sheet isn't going to cover the entire circle, so I just cut out about as much as it could cover, and I just laid that down on top of my wood sheet. The adhesive on the back of this is really sticky, so I didn't need to add anything else to it. I'm going to cover up the wood portion that's being shown on the front with florals and greenery. So I'm going to take this greenery, I believe I got it from Walmart a couple years ago. I'm going to hot glue that down, and then again I'm going to take these SOLAWOOD flowers and I am just going to start hot gluing them all down, figuring out where exactly I want them. But I thought this turned out so pretty. I love the neutral colors that these flowers come in. You can even get them in pops of color as well, but I think that the neutral colors are so pretty. I just think this turned out super gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And then I just took some little boxwood that you can also get from Walmart, and I just kind of tucked those in where I thought that it could use a little extra greenery. I'm going to take some rope that I got from Joann's, but you can get this kind of rope at the Dollar Tree, and I just use that to make a little hanger on the back, and that's it for this project. I absolutely love it, and I think this would be so cute with a little picture pinned to the cork board, or you can just leave it as is. I think both ways look so pretty.
Feels like I can fly. I don't need anybody, I don't need anybody else. No one will ever take me, no one will ever take me away from you. I promise I will hold on to you. I don't know what I'd do without you.
I'm going to take one of these long signs from the Dollar Tree. You can get them basically all year round for all sorts of different seasons. Mine just happened to be from fall, and I'm going to flip it onto its backside, and I am going to paint that with my Waverly chalk paint in white. Now, I picked up these buckets from the Dollar Tree, and you'll notice that I cut one in half. That's the one that we're going to be using today. I had my husband use his rotary tool, and it had a blade on it that could cut the bucket in half. I was way too afraid to use it, so I had him do that portion for me. So we just cut that bucket in half, and then I'm painting it with 2 coats of my Waverly chalk paint in agave. And then I'm just going to take some more of my white Waverly chalk paint and just distress and dry brush over that bucket, all over and even on the handle. Now I'm going to take these 2 picture frames that I also got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the little stands on the back. And now to be able to attach my bucket to my sign, I'm going to take some tumbling tower pieces, and I'm just going to put those right against the sides of the bucket, and then I'm going to add some hot glue and attach it to my sign. Now I'm going to hot glue those frames down to my sign as well, one at the top and then one at the bottom. I did make sure to leave a little bit of room at the top of the bottom so that I could add some twine to it. Once I've got those on there, I'm going to take some twine and make myself a bow just by wrapping it around my fingers a couple of times, taking an extra piece of twine and wrapping it around the middle, and then I'm just going to hot glue that down to the front of my little bucket. Now I'm going to take some twine and wrap it around the top and bottom portion, just going around it probably about 4 or 5 times. And then I just tied it in the back, and then I'm going to add some pictures to the frames, and that's it for this DIY.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down,
I'm going to grab some caulk that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to grab one of these metal baskets, metal planters that you can also get from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to start putting caulk all over the outside of my planter. You're going to want a pretty thick layer of this on your metal basket. So I'm just using my finger to kind of smooth it all out. I'll add more, smooth it out, and I'm going to do that over the entire outside of our planter, just making sure to get it as thick as I possibly can. I probably could have gone even a little bit more thick than I did, but this was the very first time that I tried this, so I was kind of just winging it and seeing what worked. So after I get all of that caulk on the entire outside of our planter, so I'm going to take the back of a paintbrush and I'm going to go in circular motions all over my planter and in the caulk. I wanted it to have a cool design to it, so this is what I came up with, and I'm just doing it randomly. I'm not doing it in any sort of pattern. So you can see I'm just taking that paintbrush and swirling it around. If the caulk started coming off of the planter, I just kind of mixed it around a little bit more to kind of cover up that tin. And I'm just going to do this same technique over the entire thing until it looks the way that I want it to. And then as you can see, as my paintbrush pulls up, it kind of pulls the caulk with it. So I just took the end of my paintbrush and kind of dabbed those down so I didn't have like little spikies all over my planter. And then I left that to dry overnight, and in the morning I took this metallic Rust-Oleum spray paint in gold, gave it a good couple of coats. I filled it with some lamb's ear from Walmart and some of my SOLAWOOD flowers, and that is it for this DIY.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on. I put my feet up, and we just sing along.
So the first thing I picked up were these 2 shelves. Now I'm not going to even try to pronounce how you say the names of them, but I will put up on the screen right here what I got. I got the small shelf for $5.99, and then I got the larger shelf for $6.99. So my idea was to place these together because they do come with screws and holes where you can in fact stack them together so that they become one piece, and I thought this would be super fun to make into a tiered tray. You're gonna spend less money on this kind of tiered tray versus a tiered tray that you'd get from your local home decor store. They can tend to be $30 plus, and I thought taking this and switching up the color a little bit would be so much fun. So I picked up this Rust-Oleum Ultra Matte spray paint in Coastal Sage, and I just picked this up from Walmart, and I thought this was such a beautiful color, and it actually matches my home decor really well. So I'm going to stack those together, get all the screws inside them, and you'd think that I could have done this by myself, but apparently it was way more complicated than that, and my husband had to come out and help me. Apparently I don't know how to use force with a screwdriver. So I just gave that 2 coats of spray paint, making sure that I got the bottom as well. So once the top was dried, I flipped it over onto its back and spray painted the bottom. And that's all I had to do for this super cute tiered tray. And then to go along with that, I wanted to show you, I did pick up one of these tealight lanterns from Ikea as well. And these were only $3.99, and I thought these were so cute. They didn't have a color that I absolutely loved, but I loved the design of this. And for $3.99, are you joking? I had to pick this up. So I just grabbed this as well, and I'm gonna pop out the glass around the sides, and it's actually really easy. It just has little tabs on it like you'd find on a picture frame. So I just pushed those tabs up, took out the glass, and then I'm gonna spray paint that in that same Coastal Sage color that I picked up from Walmart, and I gave this one good coat, and that's all I had to do. I just filled it with a tea light candle and some florals and greenery, and that was enough to completely transform this piece and make it a cute piece for my home.
Give me love, give me all your love, oh, 'cause I want you. No one else makes me feel this way, don't know what you do. Hold my hand, could you hold my hand, look me in the eyes. You and me, yeah, that's all I need, and I'll be alright. I'll be right here, I swear that I'll stay here with you. Hold me closer, I wanna stay here with you.
I grabbed a wooden tray from Goodwill. This was $3.49, and I thought this was so fun because for $3.49 I had a completely wooden unfinished tray that I could do whatever I wanted with. So I just gave it a little bit of sanding because there were some spots that needed it. I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and I'm going to paint the entire tray in this color. Now I'm going to grab this stencil that I picked up in a pack from Joann's, and I'm just going to line that all up. I'll cover the parts that I don't want in this particular color. I'll cover them up with some painter's tape as well. I probably wouldn't recommend that because the paper kind of ended up ripping and giving me some issues. So if you can find a different way to just be really careful when you're stenciling and not getting it on different pieces that you want different colors, do that. Maybe I should have used some washi tape because apparently painter's tape was not a good idea. So I'm just going to take my Waverly chalk paint and mineral, and with a paintbrush I'm just going to do up and down dabbing motions, and I'm going to begin painting in my stencil. And then for the word beautiful, I'm going to take that folk art chalk paint in Sage, and I stenciled that in with that color, and that's all you're gonna have to do for this. It's super easy, and I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. Once all the paint was dry and I took the stencil off, I did use some Mod Podge to seal the bottom. That way if I wanted to put anything on it, it just is going to protect it from the paint scratching off. And that's it for this DIY. You can use it as a tray or use it as a pretty display piece like I'm showing here.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic light.
I took one of these tall vases that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to clean it up because I've had it for quite a while, so it needed a good cleaning. I'm going to take some of these pop-up stickers that you can also get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to begin putting these around my vase. So I just tried to evenly space them around, and then when I got down to that second layer, I put the next sticker right in between two of the other stickers, so you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. But I just did that pattern about 3/4 of the way down. I didn't want it to go all the way down to the bottom of the vase, so I made sure to stop about 3/4 of the way. Now, a tip is I would not paint this. I would go out and spray paint it. I feel like it's gonna make the paint look a lot nicer and a lot more even rather than using your brush to paint it. I took some leftover mixture of my steel Waverly chalk paint and some baking soda that I'll use later on in this video, but I just took what I had left over and I'm just painting a little section of the bottom of the vase about 1/4 of the way up, just a little bit below where I stopped those stickers. And I just eyeballed it, trying to get the top line as even as I could, and I just went all around the bottom of the vase, painted it with this mixture, which I think turns out so beautiful. I love the way that the baking soda and paint look together. It gives you such a textured look, and right now I'm super obsessed with it. I think that it looks super, super cool. So I just went through and painted the entire bottom. I added another one of those lids that I made for my other vase, and that's it for this DIY.
What you wanna do, I'll do anything. As long as I can be here with you, everything's alright. I'll be right here. I swear that I'll stay here with you. Hold me closer. I wanna stay here with you. All that we have is each other now. I promise I won't leave your side.
I'm going to take several pieces here. So I'm going to take one of these garden blossom tags. I believe that they're called, this round tag that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. I picked up a wooden dowel, a wooden bead, and some wooden rings. The beads and the wooden rings I picked up from Amazon. I will have those linked down below if you're interested. And I'm just going to start off by spackling the holes of the bead and the round tag so that everything is nice and seamless. There are no holes in anything. And then I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and truffle, and I'm going to give a coat of that to all of my pieces. And then once those are nice and dry, I'm going to take some glue and I am going to hot glue my 3 rings together. I'm going to hot glue all 3 of those down to that circle. I'm going to add a whole bunch of hot glue in the bottom of there, and I'm going to hot glue my dowel down, and then I will hot glue my bead down to the top of my dowel. Now I'm going to take some white paint with a chip brush, and I'm just going to distress this entire thing all along the bottom, the dowel, and the bead. I just kind of wanted to give it that chippy white look to it, rustic, distressed, all the good things. And then I'm going to take one of these hooks that I picked up in a large pack from Amazon. I'm going to add some hot glue to the back of it, and then I will hot glue it down to my dowel. And then I have some of this greenery in a vine that I think that I got from Walmart, I want to say, and I just twisted that up along my dowel. I added some greenery to the bottom of my rings so that they were kind of poking out. I'm gonna grab one of these white buckets that you can get from the Dollar Tree, added some florals in it, added my bucket to my hook, and that's it for this DIY.
You and me, yeah, swear that's all I need, and I'll be alright. I'll be right here. I swear that I'll stay here with you. Hold me closer. I wanna stay here with you.
I am going to take one of these, I guess they're technically wall organizers because it does have this little hook around it. I decided to take that off because when I saw this, my mind immediately went to trough and I had a vision and I went with it. So I picked one of these up. I tried looking for them on the Ikea website and I actually couldn't find this one anymore. I picked it up for $8.49 and I know that it was on sale when I picked it up. It's called a Fintorp, but I just couldn't find this exact one. I did see the smaller like utensil versions of these, but I'm not exactly sure where these went on the website. So hopefully you can find one in your store, or maybe they'll just pop back up on the website. Who knows? So I cut out a decal using my Cricut, and I'm going to use my Expressions vinyl transfer tape to transfer this onto my little trough, as we're going to call it. And I always get questions about my transfer tape, so I will have that linked in my description box below. And I am just going to apply this decal onto my trough, and I did purchase this decal off of Design Bundles, and that's where I like to get a lot of my farmhouse designs. And then I'm gonna take some of this burlap ribbon that I got from burlapfabric.com. I decided to cut the wire sides off of both sides so that it looked more rustic and more like a piece of actual burlap rather than burlap ribbon. And I am going to cut that down so that it fits right at the top of my little trough. I'm going to take some hot glue and put that right under the lip so that I can push my burlap right into it and it will completely hide the glue that is there. So I just do that on both sides, and then I pull my burlap tight around the sides so that it's all nice and tight around the entire trough, and then I'm just going to hot glue it together in the back. And that's all you're going to do to design your flower market trough, as I'm going to call it. I decided to fill the bottom with some paper so that I didn't have to completely fill it with Spanish moss. Grabbed some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree, fluffed it all up to cover that paper really well. And then I'm going to take some greenery that I just picked up from Walmart. I believe it was 97 cents, and I thought it was really pretty. So I'm just going to take one bundle of these. I cut off all the stems individually just using some wire cutters. And then I'm just going to place all of those stems inside of my flower planter. And I just kind of messed with the arrangement a little bit because I don't have floral foam. It's not sticking as super great as I would have liked, but that's always an option. You can always stick floral foam down in there and stick your picks in there. Probably would have been a little bit easier, but I actually didn't have enough floral foam to do that on this day, so I will have to make another Dollar Tree run here soon. So I just filled that with that one pick, and then I'm just going to take some of my SOLAWOOD flowers and arrange them inside the planter how I like them. I grabbed several different colors, some mauves, some grays, some peachy creams, and I love these because I can just kind of set them where they want, and I love how realistic they look. They are just some of my absolute favorite flowers. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know I'm completely obsessed. I always have a link down in the description box. They always have fantastic sales, which is why I have so many of them, because I cannot pass up a good sale. And then that is it for this DIY. You're just gonna fill it with whatever flowers you want, whatever greenery you want, and you're gonna have yourself a super cute trough flower planter. That's what I'm calling it.
I won't leave your side. Be who you are and you'll be enough. If you're giving me your love, giving me your love. All that we have is each other now. Promise you won't leave my side. I hope who I am is enough for you. If I'm
DIY, I'm going to take one of these milk glasses that I believe I got from Hobby Lobby quite a while ago. I'm going to take some wire. I just measured out from the bottom of that milk glass a little bit further from the top of it. I cut that wire down, and then I'm going to take these large wooden beads that you can get from Amazon, and I am going to start stringing them onto some twine and then also onto that wire. Now I'm putting the wire in there because I do want these beads to have some stability so that they're not just falling over like if you just had them on the twine. Now I'm going to take this ribbon that I got from Joann's, I believe, and I'm going to cut out about 6 pieces, all the same size. And then I'm going to start hot gluing them into loops. So each piece that you cut out, you want to hot glue it so it's in a circle. And then I hot glue in each loop right in the middle so it's making kind of that bow shape. And then I'm going to start hot gluing them together. So I'll take that bottom one and I'll cross my second one over. Then I'll take my third one, cross my third one over, and then my fourth one over, and then my last one. So I guess only 5. You're only going to need 5 of those loops. And then I'm going to hot glue that down to the top of my beads. And then I'm going to take a slightly smaller bead and hot glue that to the middle of your little windmill / flower, kind of whatever way you want to look at it. And then I'm going to put those beads right inside of that glass, and that's it for this DIY.
All that we have is each other now. Promise you won't leave my side. I hope who I am is enough for you. If I'm giving you my love, giving you my love.
I grabbed this little lantern that I got for $3.49. I began by taking the glass out of all of it. I just wanted it to be open and not to have the glass in it. So I took it outside. I gave it a good couple coats of some white spray paint. And then all I'm going to do after that is dry is add a candle that I got from Ikea. I'm going to take some of my SOLAWOOD flowers on the bottom, just kind of putting them all around the candle in different colors. And I just played around with the arrangement and the colors and had a whole little circle going down around the candle. And then I'm going to take some of this ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue and hot glue this around the top portion of that lantern. I wanted to hide those little pieces that hold the glass in from the outside, so that's why I just hot glued it a little bit lower than the top, but I think this turned out super adorable. And for $3.49 I have this cute little lantern to display my Sola flowers and a candle, and I just think it turned out absolutely adorable.
Wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
I found these little napkin holders. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but you know what I mean. I got them from Hobby Lobby and I thought they looked so cute, like little cages, and I knew that I could make something really cute with them. So I'm going to just makeshift a little bottom for each of them just by using these chalkboard tags from the Dollar Tree. And I just cut out little circles and then hot glued it to the bottom of my little napkin holders, or cages if you will. And I just stuck those down, and then I took some greenery and some little florals that I had laying around, and I just started sticking all the florals and the greenery inside of these. I wanted them to look like little grow cages. I wanted the floral and the greenery to be growing outside of the cage and through the cage, so I just started sticking florals and greenery through the little holes in there and made it look all overgrown, and I think it turned out really, really cute. So I'm gonna do that for both of my cages, and then I'm gonna take that same ticking fabric and I'm going to tie around the bottom of them, just tying in a double knot, cutting off the excess fabric, and then I'll do the exact same thing to the second one, and then you have two grow cages that look so stinking cute.
You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling.
And that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this mega video with my top 30 spring DIYs. Give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let me know what your favorite project was in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!